I can just improve on myself over and over and over again and get better and better and better. And that's kind of what excites me. Hi, I'm Coralie Bickford-Smith. I'm a book cover designer, illustrator, author, and general mess maker, and this is Work in Progress. My studio is at the top of my house in the attic, as you can see, and I'm really lucky to have a whole room that I can just walk away and shut the door. Originally it was just one desk, and then I got a drawing desk. Because I'm a graphic designer, everything has to end up in the computer, but I'm starting to want to go back to what I did as a kid and just do a lot more handmade, playful things. So it's always evolving. And now I need a proper studio because I've started messing around with oil paint. The space is important. I really like the light. My layout is great now that I have 3 desks and I can just hop about and I can get paint out, I can get the ink out, I can just make a mess and I can just walk away. I think that's the most important thing. My job is a lot of thinking, a lot of daydreaming, a lot of doodling, which was pretty much my activities as a kid. I was really into printing marks as a small kid, which is a bit odd, and it didn't really make any sense. And I had a collection of books where they were all printed differently at the age of 5. So I was really tuned into book design, but I didn't really understand what it was about at the time. So when something comes back from the printers and it's uncropped, it's like a bit like a colour bar in a video. And so all across the edges, there'll be like CYMK or all sorts of different tones of little squares of colour with the crop marks. And like, it's just something I noticed as a kid. I really need that headspace. So I try and go out for a run and then it's just coffee. And then hopefully I can get to my desk by like 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. And I work through until about 2 doing book design and then break. And then in the afternoon, I'll usually pick up on all the other things that I'm doing, like illustrating or painting, writing. And then at about 5:36, Max, my cat, comes up to get me for his dinner. So that's generally how I will work. The only way ideas can come to me is like absolute time alone, peace and quiet. I really need to be alone a lot to come up with ideas. And then when you're not thinking, when you're not at your desk, your head is sort of working on its own, and then it'll come up with some really great stuff. And then you're like, in the middle of the cemetery on your phone, writing little notes. I just got lists and lists and lists. It all just happens at the weirdest moment when you're looking at something else and not thinking about it. It's kind of like your brain is its own machine. The moments when creative flow come are just so much fun. And then I don't need peace and quiet. Then I have the music on really loud and I'm belting out a song and the neighbours must be thinking, what? I really like sort of digging down into the text. Sometimes it just happens and you see something that's really meaningful to the text and you think, ooh, if someone's read this book before, they'll pick up on that and that will really intrigue them again. Or if they haven't read the book before, they see it and they go, well, why is that on the cover? I really want to know. So I try to cater for people that have read or not read the book. And sometimes it's like really deep and clever, and sometimes it's just playful and fun. Sometimes it really is about a beautiful pattern from the era. It just all begins by reading the book, thinking about the author, thinking about the period of the book, thinking about the period the author was writing in, just doing loads of research, looking at other covers for that book, because obviously I'm working on books that have been covered hundreds of times already. And then sketching, drawing, doodling, lots of messy notes. The way that they print them is really interesting. So they etch a plate with the design, goes into acid and it eats away. And so it eats away and then this comes along onto the press and they put a layer of foil which they heat up and this pushes in to the cloth on the bound case before it's like folded over, pushed in, and then your design comes off. And it's just a really lovely way of printing. And like, my files are so boring, they're just black and white. And it's only when they go through this process that they come alive. The precursor to the Clothbounds was Poems for Life. I think that was the first Clothbound, and Hans Christian Andersen Fairy Tales, where I had said, there's this cloth, I want to use this cloth, and I want to get rid of the wraparound paper jacket, and I really want to go back to these Victorian bindings. I had found these books, I've got them here, and they're just these incredible book covers that were made way back. I'm terrible with dates and facts. First one was Sense and Sensibility and Dorian Gray. Sense and Sensibility is just basically a play on fabric from that era that the book is set in. Dorian Gray was about the peacock, the duality of his personality, the showy nature. And this is the first ever Clothbound. It's a dummy, but it was the first time that I saw it as an object, and it was a pretty special moment. I just love that the back has no text on it. There's just so many beautiful book covers from around that era, and I wanted books that weren't going to be sort of thrown away. I wanted people to own books that they would pass down to their family members and would become cherished objects. There's one book that I absolutely love doing, which was Dracula, which is one of the B format Clothbounds. I really like the idea of weaving garlic flowers around the book, because they do that to the women. They put wreaths around the neck to protect them from Dracula. So when the book is by your bed, it's safe. He's not going to get out because he's trapped behind all of the flowers, the garlic flowers. So Little Clothbounds are a smaller version of the regular Clothbounds. Regular Clothbounds are B format, which is our classic paperback size. And we've gone smaller than that, so they're like dinky. And there are short stories and novellas, so they're not whole novels. So this is one of the Little Clothbounds, The Lottery by Shirley Jackson. I don't know, the design just sort of, this was one of the instant. Sometimes it's just really quick and it just happens. And this was happened. This story is so visual and vivid, and it reminds me of my favourite movie, Midsummer. It's bleak, but it's so, I don't know, something, I was just so chuffed to get to design this. And the colours, yeah, I just love, it's just, again, finding really good combinations from the limited palette that I have. I'm just obsessed by foil and cloth. I could just do it in colour combination and pattern, and people must think she's just doing the same thing over and over again. Somebody said to me that a true artist, I'm not saying I'm a true artist at all, is just obsessed by one thing. They just do it over and over again, and it just seems to be that I can just improve on myself over and over and over again and get better and better and better, and that's kind of what excites me. So isn't it wonderful to have your favourite story in a beautiful book? I just love books, and for me it isn't just about the thing on the shelf looking pretty. It's about the text inside. It's about brilliant stories, about escaping the world, learning about new things. Books are like literally my best friends. Sorry, other best friends. Thanks for watching, and if you want to know more about the Little Clothbound classics, click below, and don't forget to subscribe to Penguin.
Nailed it. Perfect, that's it. Thank you.